Olá, nessa edição nosso programa está internacional e você não pode perder. O professor Dr. Nelson Barros Colauto aborda com as nossas entrevistadas os processos biotecnológicos para obtenção de enzimas fúngicas com diversas aplicações industriais. Durante a entrevista, as convidadas esclarecem sobre o reaproveitamento de resíduos agroindustriais, o isolamento e o melhoramento de linhagens de fungos que podem influenciar nas estratégias de obtenção de produtos enzimáticos. As entrevistadas são a professora doutora Fátima Gassarra, de Biopterre, no Canadá, e a professora doutora Mônica Schmoll, do Austrian Institute of Technology, na Áustria. É daqui a pouco. Não saia daí.
Hello, welcome to Saúde e Consciência. Here we are interviewing Dr. Monika Schmoll. She came from Austria to lecture at the International Congress at the University Paranaense. Welcome, Dr. Schmoll. It's nice to have you here. And we came from a long distance, more than 10,000 kilometers, just to talk with us. So we are very great, pleased that you are here. And we'd like to understand a little bit about the academic systems in Austria. Tell us how it works before you get to university and afterwards. How many languages, how it's usual in your country, please.
So the education starts early at 6 years, and then already the small students, they learn English. It's of course in a very basic level, and that proceeds for 12 years. So before getting to the university, usually students have 12 years of education, also in English, but they also have the choice mainly in the last 4 to 5 years, sometimes also longer, to select additional languages. In my case it was French. I had 5 years of French, but I also learned Latin, and if you want you can also, for example, learn Italian or learn Russian. So it's an offer to students, and if you're interested, then you can learn many languages, and depending on the studies you want to proceed then afterwards, it's also helpful to have practice in English or to learn many different languages.
That is before the university level?
That's already before the university, and when you then enter university, it depends on the studies you take. In most cases the studies are presented in German, depends on the field of course, but then as soon as the scientific part starts, especially in the life sciences where I come from, then it's important to speak English. So with my students, it's of course, if the students come from Austria or from Germany, we also talk in German. But as soon as it comes to science, like in our meetings or if you go to a conference, then it's in English. And I also expect from my students to talk in English, because we have foreign students as well. And for me it is very important that students among themselves, they exchange knowledge, they help each other. And so it's important that they can talk to each other. And also if they want to proceed in their career, then they will go to conferences, they talk to people, and that's much more interesting and also more beneficial if they are fluent in English. So besides the scientific work, this is very important to me also to give students a chance to practice their English, to talk to them, and also to send them out in the world to make their experience. Because for students it's a difference if you're just working in the lab. then you do not realize how interesting your work is. When you then go abroad, and if you can talk to other people, to group leaders, to other students, then the students realize their work is interesting, it's important, and that gives them a lot. And besides, it's of course a challenge in the beginning when they come from school. They don't have the practice, they are shy to talk in English because they are not sure if it will work. And then once they get the practice, they see how beneficial it is for them. You go to a different country, like to the US, or also to countries in Europe, and you can talk to people. So it's the country you go to opens up so much more because you understand the people. It's not like a foreign language, a foreign country. It becomes something, well, not part of you, but you understand where you are. And I try to teach that also to my students, how much they will learn just by learning English.
The value of that.
The value, yes.
Yeah, in Europe it's easier because countries are quite close compared to Brazil.
Yes.
Just north to south is 3,000 kilometers distance. That's quite difficult. And the main language to talk among the countries in Europe is English. Is the main one used?
I wouldn't say it's the main one, but as you say, in Europe, countries are smaller, and also Austria is small, and then to talk to people all over Europe, you need something in common. So like if you go to Italy, it's very close, but usually you don't speak Italian, or to France, or to other countries. So people learn English, and that's something where you can get along almost all over Europe.
Right.
And since our countries in Europe are smaller, then there is more need to learn a language because the border is close. And you want to talk to people in Europe, then it's nice to speak English.
Right, and our perception here in Brazil is that English is the universal language all over the world, but seems that now Mandarin Chinese is getting one very important step. Are you manage that? Do you have that perception, or are you doing something to learn other languages as Chinese?
I hear more often that Chinese is becoming more important. It's also a very important economy in the world by now. Also, science is developing very well in China. So I think it's becoming more important. But on the other hand, learning English, it also has a practical aspect, because English is the scientific English, I have to say, is not very difficult. So Mandarin is really a very difficult language. So I think in practical terms, I would still vote for English, because for most people it's easier to learn, even though it's clear that Mandarin is becoming more important.
Right, that's great. And well, we've been, you are in Austria, and this it's a small country in Europe. Well, not the smallest, but do you have a research strategy that's unique from Australian to stand up in science? Well, we're talking about Netherlands, and they have a strategy researching about bananas. And I thought, wow, bananas in Europe, that's quite interesting. But they are developing that in Africa just because they have a huge flow to not the airport, the boats that carry on to all over the world. Then that's a strategy from their country that's small, then they're studying that. Do you have any particular, something that's unique from the country, or just open to all kinds of science?
I think in Austria research is rather open. We have good funding in basic research. Of course, it's always challenging with not so high quotes, but this is quite open. It's bottom up, and it's reviewed with reviewers from the whole world who are specialists in their topic. So that is to make sure that the research that is done is also of high quality. There is also funding for industry-related research that is more focused on Austria, of course, to help Austrian industry get more innovations. And then Austria is, of course, in the middle of the European Union, and there are also specific programs with different topics. There is also bottom-up research. So I would say in Austria it's not a fixed strategy. There are some programs that target specific topics of the time. For example, there is a program for climate change research or for digitalization, which is important for the economy right now. But in general, the topics come from scientists, and if the scientists succeed in getting good publications, getting good results also for industry, then this is a topic that will grow.
Right, that's great. And you're here to give a lecture, Understand Signal Transduction and Gene Regulation to Optimize Enzyme Production in Trichoderma rhizae. Do you think microbial research is the future, and it's the future for Austria? And at the same time, you have get a very large quantity of funding to your research at 3.7 million euros. That's a lot, but congratulations. Talk about it a little bit, about these topics.
So, of course, as a researcher in this field, I think it's very important, because that's a treasure we are still working on with the methods that were developed in the last years, in the last decades. We know so much more, and we have so much more tools to look into the microbial world. It's on the one hand that there is still a lot of metabolites that we don't know, that will maybe save our lives, like it was for penicillin a long time ago. And that's also something that we have to work on now, to leverage what is there in the microbial world. And on the other hand, for enzymes, there is a lot of progress now, that enzymes are found and developed further that can do chemical reactions, and in a much more efficient way and in a much more sustainable way with less byproducts. And this research is now developing a lot. And what my target in this way, or my niche, is to produce these enzymes better and produce more of these enzymes, because when you know what this enzyme can do for you, then you want to have it in a sufficient amount that it's economically feasible also. And we are working in this area, that we are improving the producer of the enzymes. So, and often it is that in nature you find an organism with a great enzyme, but this organism produces just as much as itself needs. So what we do, and what also industry does, is to take this enzyme, put it to a good producer so that we can use it as a tool in industry. And this good producer still has some, let's say, secrets, and sometimes the production doesn't work so well or not efficiently enough, and we are trying to remove these bottlenecks to give it a better production. And in the end, in turn, this makes also the enzymes more economically compatible, and this way we can achieve a greener industry with less residues, with less chemicals, less toxic pathways. So it's all, of course, we are idealists, so we want to make the world better, and in reality, there is a lot of work behind it, sometimes frustration, but we have to keep working, because I'm really convinced that with the challenges we are facing, so economical growth, and we have to keep this world a nice place to live.
Right.
And that's a big challenge we have to work on, and everyone takes care of their small part to make it better.
Right.
And
okay, that's very nice to talk with you, and thank you a lot for this interview.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching us. We'll be back soon.
Escuta, Paula.
Oi.
Vou ter que cancelar a viagem no fim de semana.
Ah, é sério?
Sério. Fui escalada para um acidente de trabalho na sexta-feira à tarde. Vou perder a mão.
Mas assim, de repente?
De repente não. Tem dias que isso tá para acontecer.
Programa Trabalho Seguro. A prevenção é o melhor caminho.
Estou aqui para falar com você que deseja cursar um mestrado em Direito Processual Civil. O mestrado em Direito Processual e Cidadania da Unipar é recomendado pela CAPES e aborda profundamente essa temática. Por meio de uma metodologia reflexiva, o curso proporciona debates que visam o aperfeiçoamento do direito com um incentivo ao ensino, à pesquisa e à extensão. Promovemos nesse ambiente intercâmbios com instituições nacionais e estrangeiras e buscamos qualificar nossos alunos para a docência e a investigação científica. Venha para a Unipar e faça parte, você também, dessa equipe de sucesso.
Era uma vez uma garrafa PET. Veio a reciclagem e a transformou em tecido, vassouras, madeira plástica e até casco de barco. Você tem um papel importante nessa história. Colocar os plásticos, papéis, vidros e metais no lixo seco, separados dos restos de alimentos e outros materiais orgânicos no lixo úmido. Isso facilita o trabalho dos catadores, gera empregos e poupa recursos naturais. Mude de atitude, separe o lixo e acerte na lata. Governo Federal.
Mestrado e doutorado em Ciência Animal da Universidade Paranaense. Recomendado pela CAPES, conceito 4. Cumprindo importante função social, qualifica profissionais de diferentes profissões para atividades que beneficiam a saúde humana, animal e ambiental. Promove a pesquisa e o desenvolvimento de produtos inovadores para ações sustentáveis. É o primeiro doutorado na área de medicina veterinária na região noroeste do Paraná. Venha para a Unipar e faça parte você também desta equipe de sucesso.
Unipar Social. Além de formação de excelência, a Unipar é uma instituição comprometida com a comunidade externa, uma universidade socialmente responsável. Nossos alunos recebem conhecimento e todo o suporte necessário para oferecê-los em ações externas que beneficiam mais de 1 milhão de pessoas direta e indiretamente. Fique por dentro da amplitude desse trabalho acessando o site social.unipar.br. Lá você consegue entender a dimensão desse contexto da Unipar. São ações sociais, projetos institucionais, vídeos informativos, biblioteca educativa e até opções em cursos livres que você pode se inscrever. Unipar Social, ampliando ações e transformando projetos em benefícios.
Mestrado e doutorado em Biotecnologia, aplicada à agricultura da Universidade Paranaense. Integrado ao conjunto de processos formativos. Voltado para a capacitação de profissionais em temas relacionados ao sistema produtivo agrícola e agroindustrial. Recomendado pela CAPES. Moderna infraestrutura e corpo docente com formação internacional. Primeiro doutorado instituído na região noroeste do Paraná. Dirigido a graduados em Ciências Biológicas, Engenharia Agronômica, Farmácia, Engenharia e Tecnologia de Alimentos, Química, Medicina Veterinária e áreas afins.
welcome to Saúde e Consciência. Here we're interviewing Dr. Fatima Gsara. She's from Canada and traveled 10,000 kilometers to go to the International Congress at the University of Paranaense. Welcome to Brazil. It's very good to have you here. And we'd like to talk a little bit about the academic systems from where you've been. I understand you've been from Tunisia, afterwards in France, and now you're living in Canada. And you have a different formation in each country. There's biological engineering, master in bioprocess in France, and then afterwards a PhD in Quebec, in Canada, where you live and work as a researcher. Then talk a little bit about shortly about the academic systems in Tunisia and Canada. Let's skip France.
Okay. I'm originally from Tunisia, so I did my bachelor degree in Tunisia. All my study I did in Tunisia till my bachelor degree. So I had a bachelor degree in biological engineering from Tunisia. Later on, I did my master degree in bioprocess in France, and I did my PhD in biochemical engineering in Canada. So I didn't see much difference between the system between France and Tunisia. In Tunisia, we learned 3 languages. So from the beginning, we learned Arabic till 8 years. Later on, we start with French, and we start learning English from 14 years.
Right.
Yeah, and most of our education in Tunisia, after 12 years, it's in French. And even in the university, it was completely in French. We don't have any Arabic. So in my what I should say, what I have seen in Tunisia, in fundamental, we are very good. Okay, it's very general academic system, and I have seen the same thing with France. But when I came in Canada, it's a little bit different. We are more specialized. There is more practical research. Right. Because in Tunisia I have seen more, maybe the things are changed because I came to Canada for many years. Maybe in Tunisia now the system changed, but when I was in Tunisia it was more fundamental research.
I understand that Tunisia is very close to Italy, and but because of the language we have a better relationship with France.
Yes, you know, also in the history Tunisia was colonized by France.
Right, that's
yes. Even for example, when I tell you, okay, most of people they talk in Tunisian, and in Tunisian it's Arabic, and you find many words in French. Right. So because France colonized Tunisia, right, and now we learn more French. So people they talk French fluently in Tunisia. So that's why. But now they wanted to learn more English. As you know, it's international languages, and I think now in the academic system they changed a little bit. Students they start learning English, I think from 9 or 10 years. So right. Yeah, because now all of us we know that English it's very important and it's international language, so we have to know. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Is that that's why you have chosen to go to Canada, because they speak French and English? Then I don't know if the city you live they speak both, because I have fun there, and I was dealing with the operator, and the operator was just talking French. I was a little bit surprised. I thought they speak currently both language, English and French.
You know, it depends. For example, in the province of Quebec, most of people they talk in French, but you know, I practice my English in Quebec, Because when I was doing my PhD, there is a lot of students that they don't know French. They come, for example, from India, and in your PhD you don't, because we publish a lot in English, and even your thesis you can write in English. So many of PhD students, they know only English. So I practice my English with them because they doesn't know French. So, and later on, after finishing my PhD, also I was in another province in Canada, Alberta. We talk only in English. We don't talk French. So it depends of the part of Canada. There is, yeah. But the only New Brunswick is the only province that you can find the two languages together, French and English.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. Living in a country with two languages, and each part you have to manage to choose one of them or to speak both of them. That's quite a challenge, I suppose.
Yeah.
And you've been here to go to have a lecture about fungal enzyme production using solid-state fermentation systems, and talk a little bit about it and why you choose that. What's the importance of working with that and studying that?
Okay, you know, actually, when I did my PhD in Quebec, I worked on solid-state fermentation using biomass to produce enzymes like lactase peroxidase. Okay, we wanted to produce this kind of enzyme because to degrade some contaminants that are difficult to degrade, like bisphenol A, it's a contaminant. It's that it's difficult to degrade. Also, some other pharmaceutical compound that is also difficult to degrade. But why we choose solid-state fermentation? Solid-state fermentation, we can use some biomass, and there is a lot of biomass in Canada that right now they are going to landfill, and with the political regulation in 2022, landfill will be forbidden for many organic waste. Right. So we have to find like a solution for this kind of biomass. So to use this biomass as substrate for fungal growth, and you have two solutions. You will produce a product with a value-added product that we can use for many things. Like I told you, for the degradation of contaminant. It can be used also in detergent. It can be used in many other companies. You know. So for this, and in the same time, you are finding a solution for biomass that. Right now, people they are using for landfill. But the most interesting thing also in solid-state fermentation, because in enzyme production, the biggest part in the cost, 40% of the cost is from the substrate. And when we are using a biomass that doesn't have any cost, could reduce the cost of production of enzyme. So for this, I was interested to this kind of field. And you know, right now for solid-state fermentation, because now I'm working with Biopter, it's a research center, so we are trying to give a solution for the company. It's more applied research, you know. Right. So we are answering to the question of the enterprise. So now many of this enterprise, they have a problem with some biomass, and they wanted to find like a solution. So for this, we will have a pilot plant for solid-state fermentation, and we will be the first center in Quebec that will have this pilot plant, and we got already the grant, and we are buying 2 solid-state fermenter. So we'll have all our pilot plant in Canada, in Quebec.
Is that a governmental institution? It's a private institution? It's a mix?
It's a mix. You know what happened? It's a research center that is related to 3 colleges. Right. Okay, Collège de la Pocatière, and Collège Rivière-du-Loup, and also ITEA, Institut de Technologie Alimentaire à Québec. So we have the right to have a grant. So a company, they give a percentage of the funding, and the government will give another part of this funding. So yeah,
so the financial part of
yes.
Do you produce mushrooms there, or it's just the material, the agro-waste residue is eventually contaminated? You have to do some remediation to use it.
You know, we have many different projects. In some projects, and we are a big team. So in some project we are producing mushroom, and we are helping also some company to produce different kind of mushrooms.
Right.
This is we are doing, and also we are doing micro-remediation using some fungal to degrade some contaminant, for example glue in the wood, formaldehyde, hydrocarbon also. So we are doing both. It depends of the strain that we wanted to use, and it depends also because in Canada there is another big problem is the regulation. Before starting any project, you have to see if you are allowed to use the fungal strain or not, and in which way you will use it.
And just some specific feature. Well, Canada is quite cold most part of the year, and something and the agro residue is in a large quantity. That yes. It's sometimes prohibitive to do that outside. To have to do inside. How do you manage that? Do you do everything inside as a pilot plant, or use it outside? Because if most of part of the year it's very cold, there's a lot of ice. How do you manage that? How do you choose?
Yes, it depends. You know, it depends. It depends of the application. It depends. You know, for example, we not for us, but in Quebec now we have like an industry for biogas production, for methane production. So we are using all the biomass. It's waste. You know, garbage waste, and
right.
We are using. So this is inside, and this is not outside.
Right.
Yeah, but for example, we can have some treatment for mining waste, and this is outside. You know, so it depends of your application. Sometimes you need to work inside, and for this also it's important also to find some strain like psychrophil strain that can work in low temperature if we wanted to go to do micro-remediation outside.
Right.
And this is a big
it's a challenge.
Yeah, big challenge.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
That's very nice to know that, and thank you very much for the interview, and thank you for watching. We'll be back soon.
A concorrência que nos desculpe, mas aqui a lapada é forte.
O bobo tá chamando! Cuidado, rapaz!
Vamos buscar mais um, o povo tá pulando, tão rindo de um em um. Vamos buscar mais um, o povo tá pulando, tão rindo.